another episode of Women Series, the program where we talk about women and COVID-19 and particularly how it affects them. Hope you've been doing great. For those of you that have had to go back to work maybe for a couple of hours, hope you've been taking care of the precautionary measures and really been keeping safe. Welcome to this episode. On today's episode, I have a very, very special guest with me. His name is Mr. Ayo Sogunro. He's a legal practitioner. And we're actually going to be talking about discriminatory laws in Nigeria, particularly in the workplace, practices that women have had to go through, or practices that maybe are not so favorable to women. So I know before 2009, there was actually a rule of law, yes, that married women cannot apply for or could not apply for an international passport without the consent of their husbands. I can't even begin to fathom or think about it, but thank God, 2009, it was taken to court and then women won the case. Also, there's a practice about a woman not being able to post bail. It's not a rule of law, yes, but it's a practice that in Nigeria, most of the time, in most police stations, really, a woman going to the police station would not be allowed to post bail or stand surety. Today, we're not going to talk about that. I'll probably be given a program to talk about this some other time. But for today, we're going to be looking at the workplace practices that are maybe not so favorable to women. So I know, Mr. Ayo Sogunro, that sick leave for most companies, I mean, the company I was in earlier on, I was 10 days for a year. And there are some women that actually have their menstrual periods, and they are sick. So, peradventure, a woman has a menstrual period every month, which comes up every month, really. And she has to take out maybe 2 days or 3 days out of that month. In 3 months, the 10 days is gone. If she falls ill in 6 months' time, she falls ill in 9 months' time, what happens? I personally feel that this is really, maybe for women, those days should be increased.
Okay, first and foremost, I want to say thank you very much for having me on a women-themed program. I'm a special guest.
It's good to have you, yes.
Thank you for making me special. All right, so diving into the issue you raised, one of the things you have to realize is that workplace practices are actually made to best suit the workplace. So you are looking at what gives maximum productivity, while at the same time accommodates the need for employees to actually enjoy what they do in a conducive environment. Conducive psychologically, physically, mentally, and with all the tools and the equipment they require. And part of this understanding is the realization that all work and no play would make Jack dull. And so that's the reason why in every year there is you are allowed to go on vacations, to go on leave. Okay. We also understand that the human body would occasionally break down. Okay, and that's the reason why you're allowed to take sick leave. But we also believe that the workplace is a place for equal opportunity. And one of the campaign of a lot of women really is that they want to be treated equally in the workplace.
I really don't disagree with that.
Okay, and so by the time we start looking at creating a different cadre of regulation just for women and just because they are women, you now begin to realize that we are already affecting the balance that we expect at the workplace. The recent International Women's Day, the theme was each for equal. Yes, and if you're actually going to be fighting for equality in the workplace, we cannot now start having regulations that are already gender biased. So if you're going to say a woman should go on extra sick leave, then you should be saying that a man should also, because of his own peculiarities that we don't know yet. So men can actually have some wonderful situations which might not be unique to them by virtue of the fact that they are men, though. But then at the same time, another man will come and say this is discriminatory. Why are you allowing women to go for for extra days and you're not allowing it for men?
A woman can go for or should be allowed to go for extra days because, see, I personally believe that yes, it's true. Stand equal rights, equal yes. But the truth about it is a woman is different from a man.
Okay.
Reproductive systems.
Okay.
Not about the mindset now, not about the mental capacity, not about the intellectual capacity. For me, that is the same. But when we're talking about a woman's reproductive system, a man, they're different. There's a reason why they were different, really. We'll talk about maternity leave because that's another issue.
Okay.
Really, and even paternity leave. Because if we are saying this, are we also saying that men should be allowed to go for 3 months paternity leave.
Which exactly brings me to the point. So let me quickly say this.
Let's talk about
let me quickly say this. Let me quickly say this. Yeah, you raised a very, very critical point. The fact that the makeup of a man, the physiological makeup of a man is very different from that of a woman, which is a fact that nobody can negate. Okay, and it is because of this that if you want equality in the workplace, really, it should be equality based off productivity, and not just because you showed up. I should not pay you what I pay somebody else that is more productive at work by virtue of the fact that he is present. So this is what I am saying in essence. If you want to go take extra days off, you shouldn't expect them to be paid, because you are going to be giving less to your organization. It is only fair that if I am giving this much to my organization, then I should be remunerated for this much that I give. And if you are giving less by virtue of your physiological makeup, which nobody is going to hold against you.
How do you measure that it's less?
So if you're asking for extra days, it's already less. Okay.
But the truth about it is, I can be at work for 6 days. Okay, let's even take the man and the woman for example now. A man can be at work for 6 days, a woman for 3 days, and she's more productive than the man.
Okay, so because I want us to establish certain foundations based on which we can progress with the conversation, one of the assumptions we are going to make is the fact that they are equally productive. Okay. So if you say that the man is as productive as the woman, then under the same circumstances, we expect them to produce the same thing. Okay? And the woman is not necessarily more productive. That's a different debate entirely, and I don't want to go into that because that is one place you go in so you don't come out of. All right?
No, we can go into it and then we'll pick you up on the program again to continue.
But quite frankly, we are going to assume that they are equally productive. And we are going to assume that if both of them go to work for 10 days, they will produce the same amount of results, output. But if you now say that the woman should go on leave for 3 extra days, then by virtue of our first assumptions, she's going to produce less. And by virtue of those assumptions too, the company is going to be getting less from her. Now, nobody is saying that it is your fault. So let's look at certain things that actually has to do with the physiological makeup. You cannot expect that a woman at work should do as much heavy lifting as a man should. One would expect that you would defer towards the woman under those circumstances. If you are going to pay,
there are some women that actually
which is the exception and not the rule. It's exceptionally stronger than the average man. It's the exception, not the rule. And so if you are going to be paying people extra for heavy lifting, are you with me? Then you will not want to say, okay, we understand that you are a lady, so just take this money all the same. That's not fair. That's not equal. Equality, the tenets of equality must also impute equity. And equity is that based on the same sets of facts, things should be treated the same way. When you change the facts, you should not expect the same outcome.
Mr. Sogunro, I understand the fact that yes, equality is equality, both for the man and for the woman, but we cannot ignore the fact that their makeup is different. I want us to move over to the maternity and paternity leave now. I mean, there is a reason why the woman has to go on maternity leave. Even in some countries right now, I hear more than over a year, in Canada over a year right now, you are entitled to maternity leave as a woman. And the truth about it is, if we're saying equality for equality, the day she gives birth, why not let her stay at home? Or, sorry, not stay at home, come to work, since it's equality for equality or being equal.
And that is the reason why I feel like a corollary of what we said earlier on is the fact that if you are treating productivity equally, you are treating what a person brings to the organizational drawing board equally. Yes. Then one of the things that you must do is that if a woman goes on maternity leave, then please allow the husband to also go for paternity leave.
How many months?
To the same amount of time. And the reason for this is because there is a general, there is a cultural and a sociological, psychological effect that it has on the individual that also dissipates into the society at large. The idea that a woman is the one responsible for the child, solely responsible for the child or primarily responsible for the child is the reason why you grant her time that is more than that of the man. So what we say ipso facto is that the man is not as responsible for the child as the woman. But if you are bringing the concept of equality, gender equality into the workplace, then the man should actually enjoy as much paternity leave as the woman does. Because that's way, then the man also understands that it is his equal responsibility to take care of a child. By extension too, let's look at this illustration, this example. A man and a woman both work in the same environment, and then in a promotion year, the woman goes on a 6 months maternity leave. That definitely is going to have an effect on how she's assessed. It is not supposed to. It is not supposed to, but unfortunately, her productivity to the organization will drop. And by virtue of that, if I'm going to consider a senior position that is going to require much more commitment, I want to give it to somebody who will not be hampered by physiological reasons, such as having to go on maternity leave, which will affect the productivity that the company.
That women shouldn't be placed because of their makeup. They shouldn't be at an advantage.
No, I'm saying because of their makeup, they shouldn't be at a disadvantage. The disadvantage is this. By virtue of allowing a woman to go on maternity leave, the man automatically, the man who is her equal in the workplace, automatically has an advantage over her because he can give more to the organization. And by virtue of that, you see, most organizations, let me land this thought here. Most organizations are capitalist in nature. They want to get the most out of as much as they can, okay? And so if I look at two people whom I know that this man, there's a tendency that if he has to go on leave, probably it's either vacation or probably sick leave. He won't say he's going for his 6 months maternity leave. Then I am more inclined to put him in a position that requires more commitment because I know that the tendency to stay committed is there. Not because the woman does not want to stay committed, but because the woman, by her physiological makeup, can at certain times when she has to attend to herself or attend to her immediate primary family needs. Okay, now that is a natural disadvantage to a woman. If on the other hand, the man also has to go on a paternity leave that is equal to that which a woman goes on, then they are both on a level playing field. So what would have been a disadvantage to the woman now, it now becomes
an advantage.
Exactly.
I won't personally disagree with the fact that maybe men shouldn't, or married men shouldn't go for paternity leave for 3 months in case where the woman is going for paternity leave for 3 months. But what I really don't agree with is the fact that the productivity of a woman is less. See, the truth is, even the research is really that the woman in the workplace is actually more productive than the man. In the sense that women tend to relax more and achieve things. Now, this minus personality traits and all of that, really. But the truth about it is, the woman, you cannot take away the fact that the woman is a nurturer. The woman is someone that when she applies herself to something. I mean, a man, if you're saying a man should even go for paternity leave for 3 months, really, and come back, if a man has to go through what a woman has to go through, I'm not very sure he'll be able to pull through it.
Okay, so from your stance alone, I can assure you that most women would disagree. Because they will tell you that there is nothing in a woman that makes her a better caregiver or a nurturer than a man. You might say that there is a bonding that goes on between the child and the mother during the breastfeeding process, during the childbirth delivery process. But the point is that bonding is usually psychological, and any man that wants to bond with his child can bond with his child.
True.
And so by virtue of that alone, we must not bring extraneous issues into the workplace. The workplace is a place of productivity, and to make the playing fields equal as much as possible, we want to treat the outcomes of productivity equitably. Yes. And so I would not give more to less. Why the less can be accommodated, because we understand why it is less. I understand why you have to go on leave. I understand why you have to not be at work. At the same time, it is not fair to productivity for me to pay you the same amount that I paid somebody who actually contributed more to productivity?
That's a different topic entirely. It's a topic really, because I know I think about it a month back or a month two back. I was reading something about was it basketball NBL, and then they were talking about the fact that maybe women were paid less than men. I see no reason why, and I'm also saying this because these are women that will take care of their children that are going to be released into the society. Gone are the era where the woman is the one usually at home, and then now the scenario is both parents are working. The woman is doing far more. That shows you that she's even more productive than the man. Nowadays, a woman, she wakes up at the same time as her husband. They go to work. Sometimes she even comes back later. She's the same person that takes care of the children. She's the same person that has to do the callings of the keeping the families together and everything. Most of the time, not in all cases, all the man has to do is go to work and come back. For me, the woman is more productive.
All right. So one of the things we're beginning to see during this COVID-19 era is that so people are working remotely. The man is at home, the woman is at home, and then all these issues you raise, you begin to realize that they are null issues really.
They're not.
Yeah, they are null issues because now a man is having to tend to the food. The woman is in the middle of a meeting. The children are crying. You are saying they are being forced to. No. But what we are realizing is that most times it is an arrangement of convenience. And because it's an arrangement of convenience, the woman is not doing it out of her own free will. If a woman is doing it out of her own free will, then it's an issue. But because it's an arrangement of convenience, then they can carry on as normal. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, when people have to work remotely, they carry on as normal. Okay, so out of convenience, who is available at this moment? Who is not in the middle of a meeting? Who does not have a report to submit currently?
I'm talking about in what operates in most homes.
Because if they are equal breadwinners, exactly. These things are nuanced. You cannot remove the context from which these issues occur. Sometimes the man is earning more.
True.
By virtue of the fact that he's earning more, we want him to concentrate more on what he's doing. If anybody is going to lose their job in quotes, we don't want it to be you. Okay? Sometimes the woman earns more. And under those circumstances too, the man can say, oh, please, you're doing very fine. We don't want anything to affect this home. So I'll take care of this.
How many men would come up and say, no, I'm not saying all cases, but let's be very logical. I'm talking about our nation.
Unfortunately, I cannot speak to that.
Okay, maybe
I cannot speak to that.
I've actually not personally gone through, but scenarios, really, a lot of scenarios where people have said, even if the woman is earning more, if someone was to give up their job, would the man agree to the woman leaving her job because she's earning? Or sorry, I beg your pardon. If the woman was earning more and the man was earning less, and one has to give up their job, would the man agree to leave his job for the woman?
Okay, probably because I have a business mindset. But I believe, quite frankly, that logic presumes that the person that earns less will give up a job. But unfortunately, I cannot speak to that statistics. I cannot speak to the peculiarities of other men. I think that really, like the workplace environment, marriage too is a free entry environment. There's freedom of contract. A couple can decide exactly how they are going to operate within the bounds of law. Even in the workplace too, the work contract can determine how you are going to operate. You can freely contract within the bounds of law. And that's the reason why you cannot take your company to court, for instance, and say, they did not give me 8 months maternity leave. I mean, what did you contract? Yes, what did you contract to? We might clamor for there to be improvements, but we must not get to the point where we ourselves, by virtue of the changes, and these are my closing thoughts, by virtues of the changes that we try to bring into the workplace or even into the marriage space, which is not somewhere I would like to go to really, into the workplace, we now start to create unnecessarily disadvantage for the woman. Because by the time you start demanding of too much of the workplace for the woman, a capitalist mindset environment in which the business operates will naturally see that the woman is contributing less to its productivity, and by virtue of that will start unknowingly discriminating against hiring a woman or promoting a woman. Not because of any fault of its own, but simply because the woman is contributing less. And that's not what we want. That's not what we
But
want.
wait, would you agree with me that it is possible? Now, this is not on the equality stand. It is possible for a woman to take 6 months of a year for maternity or even for any reason in particular, and the remaining 6 months of the year that she's at work, she actually produces more than someone who has been in the organization for a year.
I am sure that anybody, not just a woman, anybody can do that
Okay.
if they put their mind to it. And that's the reason why you should also give a man 6 months.
I think that's another topic for another day. I personally would not disagree to having a man take paternity leave, really. I personally, because really, there's a role a man has to play in the home. And nurturing the child also is a role of the husband as well.
All right.
Mr. Sogunro, thank you so much.
No, it's been my
It
pleasure
was a
to have
great
this
discussion.
conversation. Yeah, thank you very much.
Definitely would want to have you on the show
And it
again.
would be my pleasure to return.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
And that'll be all for today's episode of Women's Series. Hope you enjoyed the program. Do connect with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Don't forget to keep the date with us next week also on Women's Series. Till then, thank you for watching and please keep staying safe.